Good morning, class. I'm Dr. Kiran Deshwal, Assistant Professor English. In this video lecture, I will teach you the remaining story, Three Questions, composed by Russian story writer and novelist Leo Tolstoy. So far, we have seen that in this story, there was a king who wanted to know the answers of his three questions, and to seek the right answer, he goes to a hermit in the forest and requests the hermit to answer his questions. And what happens next, we will see in this video. So, but the king did not give him the spade and continued to dig. 1 hour passed and another. The sun began to sink behind the trees, and the king at last stuck the spade into the ground. We saw that when the king reached to the hermit, he was digging the ground, and when king told him his problem, that he wants to know the answer of his three questions, the hermit didn't pay attention and he keeps continue his work. So the king pitied on the hermit and he offers him help and starts digging the ground for the hermit. But what happens in between? He again repeats his questions, but the hermit says that perhaps you are tired, give me the spade and take a rest a while. But the king continues digging, and the day passes. 1 hour passed and another, and the sun began to sink behind the tree. It becomes dark, and the king at last stuck the spade into the ground and said, he becomes irritated and says, I came to you, wise man, for an answer to my questions. O wise man, I came to you in this forest so far from my kingdom to get the answer of my questions. If you can give me none, if you can give me none, tell me so and I will return home. If you can't give me the answers, you should say me no, deny me, and I will return my home. So, without answering the query of the king, the hermit says that here comes someone running. Oh, see, someone is coming here. Someone is running, said the hermit. Let us see who it is. The king turned round. The king looks at the running man and sees a bearded man come running out of the wood. Both of them saw that a bearded man came running out of the wood. The man was wounded. He held his stand. He held his hands pressed against his stomach, and blood was flowing from under them. When he reached the king, he fell fainting on the ground, moaning feebly. The king and the hermit unfastened the man's clothing. The man was wounded, and his stomach was bleeding, and so the king and the hermit unfastened his clothing. There was a large wound in his stomach. He was attacked by someone, and to the king washed it as best as he could and bandaged it with his handkerchief and with a towel the hermit had. The king did dressing of his wound, but the blood would not stop flowing. It was still bleeding, and it was a very heavy wound, and the king again and again removed the bandage soaked with warm blood and washed and rebandaged the wound. When at last the blood ceased flowing, the man revived. He came to consciousness and asked for something to drink. The man requested that give me something to drink. The king brought fresh water and gave it to him to drink. The king brought fresh water and gave the wounded man to drink. Meanwhile, the sun had set. It became night, and it had become cool. It was summer time. So the king, with the hermit's help, carried the wounded man into the hut and laid him on the bed With the hermit's help, the king carried the wounded man into the hut and laid him on the bed. He made him comfortable. Lying on the bed, the man closed his eyes and was quiet. The man closed his eyes and he was just quiet. But the king was so tired from his walk and from the work he had done that he crouched down on the threshold. But the king was not used to of such a hard work, so he was tired from his walk, because we know that he dismounted from his horse and came to the hermit on foot. That why he was tired due to his long walk and from the hard work which he had done for the hermit of digging the beds. So he falls asleep on the threshold. Tired, he slept and also fell asleep so soundly that he slept all through the short summer night. The king was unaware of the environment and the time. When he awoke in the morning, it was long before he could remember where he was. It was not his customary place. He used to be in his palace, but today he is at another place. He was lying on the floor. So, before he recollects his wisdom or his mind, or who was he, looks at this strange man, the wounded man, bearded man, who was lying on the bed and gazing intently at him with shining eyes. The bearded man, the wounded man, was looking at the king with shining eyes, and the man says, "Forgive me," said the bearded man in a weak voice. In a weak voice, the wounded man said that, "Forgive me, O king, forgive me for my misdoings." When he saw that the king was awake and was looking at him, so the man said that, "Forgive me." So the king said that, "I don't know you and have nothing to forgive you for." The king said that, "I don't know you, who you are. You are a stranger for me, so I don't know you and I have nothing to forgive you for," said the king. The king said, but the man replied that, "You do not know me, but I know you." "Yes, I know that you don't know me, but I know you. I am that enemy of yours who sought to revenge himself on you. I am the enemy of yours, and I swore that I will take revenge on you because you executed his brother. Because in past the king executed the bearded man's brother, that's why he wanted to take revenge, and the king seized his property. So the wounded man swore to take revenge upon the king. I knew you had gone alone to see the hermit. He was a spy, and he got the fact that the king has gone to the hermit alone by himself to meet the hermit in the forest, and I resolved. So the bearded man decided to kill the king on his way back. But the day passed and you did not return. He was hiding somewhere in the way, in the forest, in the woods, and he was waiting for the king. And the readers know that the king was helping the hermit, that's why he couldn't return on time. But the day passed, the whole day passed, but the king went on digging the ground, and the king did not return to his bodyguard or his horse. So I came out from my ambush. So the man get anxious or confused or curious, we can say. So he came out from his ambush. Ambush means the place where he was hiding, to search for the king, to find the king. But what happens when he came out to look for the king and came upon your bodyguard, king's bodyguard, who was standing beside his horse, looks at the enemy, and they recognized me. They recognized the bearded man that it is the enemy of the king and it can harm the king. and they attacked on him and they wounded him, and that's why he came running to the king. So the situation is very clear. I escaped from them. Somehow the bearded man escaped himself. He defended himself. He saved his life somehow, but should have bled to death. Despite escaping, he should have bled to death had you not dressed my wound. It is the king who saved him by dressing his wounds. I wished to kill you. So the man says that, and you have saved my life. The man is regretting. He is saying that I wanted to kill you. I decided to kill you. I resolved to take the revenge from you, and I wanted to kill you. It was my desire to kill you, to take your life, but you have my life. But the man whom I wanted to kill has saved my life. Now the person has changed. He says that if I live and if you visit, I will serve you as your most faithful slave. So his heart changes with this incident, that I wanted to kill you and you saved my life, and will bid my sons do the same. Forgive me. That's why I know that you don't know me, but I am asking to forgive me because I wanted to kill you and you have saved my life. So I am regretting, and with regret, with repentance, my heart has changed and I beg your pardon. Thanks for watching. We will be continue in our next video.